I'm sorry? Yeah, maybe Twitch. I think I got it. So, we'll see. Hi everyone, if you're watching a recording, do fast forward about 2 minutes. We are just getting ready to get started here. Oops. And I need to fix something. Here we go. Week 54, keep up. There we go, nice change, all right. So we should be connected out there on Twitch land and YouTube and Facebook. Let's see. Okay, that's fine. I'm not sure where that comes up either. I'm not talking to myself. Actually, I am talking to myself, but I'm not talking to myself. I'm actually talking to Andy. If any of you guys are out there wondering who I am talking to, if you're new here and don't know, Andy is my producer, and he talks to me in my ear while we do this so that he keeps track of all your comments and tells me what's going on. All right, we're going to start in 1 more minute. Just finishing up. Gathering all my stuff here. I'm pretty close. Ooh, file. Andy tells me I am good to go. So 1 more minute and we're gonna get going. How's everybody today? It's Monday and things are moving and shaking. Had a really overcasted day yesterday, and today we have a beautiful bright Monday. Sunny Monday. There it is. Hoi, hoi, hoi. But hello, New Jersey. Hope you guys are getting some good weather out there. I know it was really windy over the weekend, wasn't it? Like crazy windy. Took a little hike up the street, and there were so many trees blown over into the street. Good thing is that the street's closed off and nobody's driving on it, because it would have been a hot mess. But there were trees all over the street. So, all right. Yeah, yesterday was icky, but today's a good day. Anyway, okay, it is 1 o'clock. Today is Monday, March 29th, week 54. It is Motley Metal Mondays, and we are ready to get started. Motley Metal, what is it? We're doing enamels. So for the last 6-8 Mondays, we've been doing enamel projects. If you've been following along or you're just joining us, we do have kits still available. If you want to, you can always go back and watch the recordings on either YouTube or on my Facebook Q Talk page. So on Twitch, it only lasts for about 2 weeks. So if you're watching on Twitch, the videos only stay for about 2 weeks before they get deleted. So definitely you can log into YouTube or the Facebook page, and you can watch all the videos for recordings from previously. You know, what's really funny is over the weekend, someone reached out to me and asked me about that ring I was wearing. And I was like, okay, which day? And you know, we were having this sort of discussion, and she couldn't figure out which ring it was. I said, you know, if you point me to the video, I can look it up and I can tell you about whatever ring it is that I was wearing that day. And the next response was, man, you have a lot of videos. And you know what? Yeah. Well, we've been doing this twice a week for 54 weeks. So there's over 100 videos at this point. Woohoo! Here we are. So anyway, so enameling. Let's talk about enameling for a second. So today we have the Crosswinds project. That's this one. And what you're going to need is you're going to need some metalworking tools. So something to punch a hole with, whether you like your 2-hole punch or you like your hand punch, you can use either one. I prefer smaller holes, so 1.25 or the smaller side of the 2-hole punch is usually what I use, unless there's something very special that I need the larger sizes for. A bench block, because we'll be cutting some metal, and of course if we're cutting metal, we're going to need a pair of shears and some files. Of course, a leather mallet, because it's going to warp as we cut it. right? A divider is very helpful. You don't have to have it, but dividers are really cool for scoring and making straight lines, and we like to use those. Or you can take out your ruler and a Sharpie to do this, okay? And of course, because we are enameling, you'll need some enamel stuff like a trivet, a sifter, some enamels, of course. We do have enamel kits on the urbanbeater.com website if you haven't gotten started and want to get started really quickly with, I mean, these kits have 12 colors in them, so it's a nice way to get started. We'll also need some clean water. I'm sure you guys have a sink where you are. I don't, so mine's all the way over there. So we're just going to keep it in a little bowl here and wash along the way. Some clarifier or holding agent. Some of you like hairspray. I do not, but you can use hairspray too. And some Penny Bright for cleaning because we need to keep our surfaces clean, right? Right. Okay. Brushes. So, I'm going to go through a couple different processes today of how you can approach this project. So a couple of brushes is nice. A fine brush would be really helpful too. Some copper metal, some copper strip, and then what's sort of unusual and fun is if you had gotten the kit, you would have received some silver frames. These are sterling silver, okay? So there you go. There you have it. That's how we're doing this. Now, of course, if you don't have the silver frames, you can make this with some either sterling or fine silver wire. I would probably do something around a 24, 22 gauge wire would be nice to work with. Okay, so let's see. So let's just sort of jump in. You don't, one of the first things I want to mention is you don't have to do it exactly how I'm doing it. That's what's really cool about, meaning the design anyway. That's what's really cool about enamel. But even jewelry making, you can totally take your own path and use your creativity and create whatever look or project you want. And of course, whatever color you want, because there's a whole bunch of enamel colors that are out there. So just because I choose to do it this way doesn't mean you need to. It's just an approach. Okay. So that said, I'm going to cut some copper sheet metal. It's 24 gauge. Okay. Now the key here, my piece is fairly long. The key here is you really don't want to go more than 1.5 inches in size. I have found that once you exceed that length of 1.5 inches, it starts warping and it's just no fun. Okay. Also, by the way, you do need some firing equipment. You will need a torch, unless you have a kiln, and you'll need a tripod for us to fire from under. Okay. So that said, I'm going to go ahead and just cut this at 1.25 inches. I'm going to go a little bit smaller today. So we'll just measure that out, just like so. Okay, and we'll use our shears to do that with. Really easy. Bezel shears, if you don't have any, you do want to get the ones that are not serrated because you want your cuts to be nice and smooth, okay? And I already noticed that my piece, I don't think it's really symmetrical, and this is what's really great about the divider. It's going to help me figure that out. So hold on, let's flatten that out. So a leather mallet or rawhide mallet, same thing. Right on a bench block. And here I'm just going to go like so. And I'm going to score one side of it. And that will make it parallel to the other side. And you know what? I was wrong. It's fine. Okay. Maybe the rest of the piece I know is not right because see, there's a big difference in there. But anyway, okay, so it looks like I did okay there. We'll go with that. Because I'm doing a rectangle, I always take off the corners. Or if there's a square, I always nip off the corners and create a little radius. For me, this is just really important, and it's a nice little touch to make it look a little bit better. Because, when they're really square, it gets a little sharp, and of course, it's a little bit harsh to be wearing something like that, right? When it's sharp. Like I always say, if you don't like the person you're giving it to, don't cut off the corners. There you go. Ha ha. Okay. So how many of you guys are following me on Facebook right now? You notice we're doing spring cleaning around here. Lots of stuff. I know I got a hair up my backside and decided it was time to get rid of some of this equipment that I haven't been using for a long time. So, or I ordered it in by mistake, or they sent in the wrong thing and it was just easier to destash it than send it back. That's some of the items. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about and you haven't seen it yet, I did put it on my Facebook page. Or you'll find it on a couple of the destash pages. Okay, so there we are. We'll go ahead and pierce some holes. Up to you how you want this to sit. I think this time I'm going to go this way with this, just to do something a little bit different. And I am going to use this one. And you'll want to use the smaller side of the 2-hole punch. Again, my preference. I say you want to, but I want to. Let's see, and we'll eyeball that to about there. Like so. Looks good. These are really easy to use. So you'll just crank this down where you want it. So you can see right there, and we just start cranking like so until you feel it release. Once you feel it release, then you'll go back the other way until it drops out, and then you're done. And you know what's really great about these are these little dots. I call them copper poopies or silver poopies that come popping out of, I don't know if you can see that, but there it is. So that's how I made these dots, right? They came out of these little cuts. And I actually, believe it or not, I do save this stuff until I have enough to do something with it. So like, let's see, there's probably some stuck on the other side. Look at that. So I have some dots. They make really great decorative elements when you are fabricating or when you're doing enameling. Okay. Done. Next up, remember we're enameling, so we need to make sure that the metal is nice and clean. And so make sure it's nice and clean. So we're using Penny Bright directly on there. I use my fingers. I know this annoys a lot of people, so go ahead and get an old toothbrush and use a toothbrush on it. I'm not really worried about the Sharpie on the back because I'm going to fire this and it's all going to go away anyway, right? Okay. Put it in some clean water. Clean my hands while I'm at it. There we go. All right. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and enamel the backside with some counter enamel. There's going to be a fair amount of enamel on this piece, so do make sure that you do a good layer of counter enamel, because what's going to happen is you're going to put down about 3 layers of enamel, and then on top of it you have all of the silver pieces. Okay, so I'm just going to flatten this out a little bit. It was a little warped from all that handling. There we go. Another tip here is while you are working, make sure you don't put lotion on your hands when you're working with enamel, because you don't want that lotion to transfer onto your metal. It will act as a barrier to your enamel and it won't fuse properly. Okay. So, where's my brush? Oh, sitting right here. So here I have a little bit of clear fire / holding agent, same stuff, little bit of a nice thin layer, just like so. Oops. And some counter enamel. I'm going to put it right on top of my lid, so it makes it easier to lift than trying to lift this off of the paper. Okay. A little bit of enamel. Remember, don't fill your sifter to the top, just halfway, or else the enamel won't move properly and it won't sift properly. So we're just going to sift starting on the outer edges, and we're going to do this in a spiral, working from the outside towards the middle. So a healthy amount is good for this project. Okay. Oops. Here I'm looking for the lid and hello, my enamel's on top of it. Take out your spatula if you happen to have one. I am going to use this lovely little fork. Love my tool here. And we're going to move it right on top. You know, if you find difficulty in doing this, part of it, of transferring it, practice without the enamel on there. Practice with your metal shape and see how it should go to get it on top of there. Okay, let me put this enamel away. When I'm working with enamel, I like to clean as I go because it just makes a mess really, really quickly. So just try to keep on top of that. Make sure that your hole is unobstructed. So if you're wondering why there's a paper clip in the tools list, if you bought the instructions, you use a paper clip to clear that hole. Because if you're going to fire this with enamel in that hole, it's going to solidify and you will no longer have a hole. There it is. And my torch walked away. Oh, I totally forgot. Hold on. I totally forgot that I borrowed my torch to light my fire this weekend. Oops. Oh well. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. All right, so we're going to go right in there and we're going to fire right from the bottom. We're just going to gently move the heat around until the surface of the enamel looks like the surface of an orange peel. Okay. First, it's going to look like dry sand. Then it's going to look like sugar. And then it'll look like an orange peel. We don't need to get this to gloss. We don't need to get it to gloss because we're going to be firing again anyway. Actually, we're going to be firing 2 or 3 more times. All right. Give it a second to think about it. Cool, that is. And I like to use my bench block as a heat sink to get that to cool off really, really quickly. You don't want to quench your enamels because remember, it's glass. And so when you put hot glass into cold water, what does it do? It's thermal shock and it will crack. So you want to go ahead and be patient and let that sit for a minute. Okay? Until it's cooled off and you can handle it. Notice again, there's my enamel and fire scale. So we have to clean that off. You want your metals clean when you're enameling because it will not fuse. Okay, the glass powder will not fuse to your metal if there is something between it, like fire scale and oil residue. Okay, so there we are. Give it a good scrub. You can see it starting to come off. Some people stop short. I go all the way. I just want to make sure that it's clean. I don't want to make all this effort for this to be cracking off in a week, right? There we are. Okay. You know, I feel like I want a little sink. You know how they have a sink when you go to the dentist that's right next to your chair? That tiny little like swishing sink where you get to spit and then they can fill up a Dixie cup of water for you. I want one of those right here. Honey, do you think you can install one for me? Or get one installed? I mean, I don't even want a big sink. I just want a little sink to do this kind of thing. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Anyway, let me know when one of you guys install one of those. Andy's not laughing. I don't even know if he's still here. I'm assuming he's still here with me. Okay. Andy said, I just bought a commercial grade sink, so no, I don't get a little mini sink. Hey, I bought that commercial grade sink for $50, so come on. And that was 2 years ago. Isn't it time? Anyway, just having a husband-wife conversation over here without y'all. Okay, so here's the front side, and we're going to do the same. So what's really great too about enamel are colors. There are such a plethora of colors, and if you experiment with it, you can use opaques and transparents with each other and create new colors and whatnot. So I'm going to be a little bold today. I'm not going to do straight up colors. I'm going to do a little bit of experimenting. Let's see what happens. So I'm starting with Ivory 1238. This is an opaque. You might want to start, if you're going to do transparents on top of copper, you might want to start with a titanium or foundation white as a base, because then you'll get a purer color. Usually what happens when you put a transparent on top of copper is the copper has this pink hue, as you can see, and it throws the color. So everything is a little bit on the reddish pink side, right? No matter what color you use. So you want to start with a base. It's sort of like putting down gesso on your painting canvases before you start painting. It just creates a nice surface for you to work with. Okay, so here I'm just going to do a thin layer of ivory. And again, I'm always working in a spiral. And then if I need to fill in a little bit because I missed somewhere, then I'll go back. But I always work in a spiral to create my very first layer. And then we're going to fire this. Remember, when you're firing enamel, you want to make sure that it is dry before you fire it, or else you'll get bubbles. However, I did get a contact yesterday about someone who took my class recently and got a bubble. It was the strangest bubble I've ever seen. So I have no idea how that bubble happened, because the bubble was underneath the surface as opposed to on top of the surface. Sort of weird. But in any case, I would just refire it and see what happens. Okay, so putting away my enamels before I fire. All right, so we're going to fire this off. Again, just to the orange peel stage, right in there. Let's see if I can switch cameras while I'm firing. Living dangerously here. There we go. So you can see, I switched so that you can see where I'm coming from. And you want to make sure all the surfaces look the same. So if you need more heat on one side versus the other, just move the flame there. And that's what I was doing. Give that a second. Okay. Just knock it on the pad or on something hard if it was stuck. I don't know if you saw how my enamel was stuck there for a second. Or let it cool. It'll pop off. It's just a matter of time. Okay. So you can tell I don't have a great layer of enamel. We can see some darkness underneath from the copper, but that's okay because I'm putting on a bunch of other stuff on top of that. So what I'm hoping to accomplish with this yellow that's on here, oh, darn, I grabbed the wrong one. I was going to say I'm using Nile green, but I grabbed sea green, but I have lime yellow, transparent, and I was supposed to grab Nile, which is a transparent. So hold on, I'm going to grab that too. Let's see here. My big box of enamel that's sitting here. So much for being prepared today. I tried. Okay, maybe that one. Of course, I can't find the color that I want. Duh. Jeez. It's never easy. Okay, so I'm going to go with copper green. Oy. So we're going to go with copper green transparent, which is 2410. Pretty cool. You don't have to clean this again. This is fine because once you have enamel on it, you're not fighting fire scale and you're only fusing on top of itself, right? Meaning enamel on top of enamel is what we're doing next. Okay, so now I'm going to put a nice healthy layer of copper green transparent on top. Some holding agent or clarifier to keep that in place, like so. We'll sift that. Let's go ahead and come in a little bit more so you can see what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to do more on, what do I decide? I'm going to do more on the outside than in the middle because I'm going to do a second color in the middle. Again, just sort of for fun. And I know that this color is not going to be what I think it's going to be because I have the ivory on the bottom. So this should make it a bit more green. You know, it's sort of funny. The comment was, Kathy says she was pretty hesitant about transparency in the beginning, and now she relaxed them. You know, same here. If you go back to my classes in the beginning, they were all based on opaques. And now it's typically a combination of the two of some sort. So transparents are a lot of fun. Okay. So there I am. If you notice, I really wanted the blue around the edges and just a little bit in the middle because I'm going to do the lime yellow in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to go for a third firing before I add on my I'm going to go for a second firing. In the end, it'll be 3, maybe even 4 firings, depending on what it looks like, and I'll show you how to fix that before we put on the embellishments. Okay. Dokie, this is not the way I wanted this. There we go. Okie dokie. Put this away. Again, I have a tendency to put this away because the soot from the grate, from the mesh, gets all over the place. And I don't want it in my enamels because it creates these little black spots. All right, so same here, one more time. Fire that. Right underneath, as you can see. And this should go fairly quickly because it is a transparent. Transparents have a tendency to fire a little bit faster than opaques. And right to the orange peel state once again. Go. I told you it was going to be green. And don't forget, enamels will change in color as it cools. So there we are. And I'm switching out my papers as I'm going along just to keep my enamels from cross-contaminating. Ooh, that's starting to look pretty good. Okay. Yes, I know, I'm excited because I'm impressed with what's going on because it's an experiment. I've never done these colors before. Have fun with that. It's a little warm. Little brush on a little tiny bit more there. So now I'm going to go with lime yellow. I get a feeling I'm not going to get much out of this lime yellow, but we're going with it because that's the color I pulled. And I'm just going to work in the middle like so. Okay. So now if you want to add the embellishments, you want to add it not on top of fired enamel because the surface is so slick, you're going to fight it because it's going to want to roll off. So I always put it on top sifted enamel, okay? The embellishments. Let me say that again. I always put the embellishments on top of sifted enamel. It makes life a lot easier to work with. So the question is the second and third color a transparent? Yes. I started with an opaque, and then I went to copper green transparent, and then this third color right now is lime green transparent. Okay. So now I need to decide on my design. Let's face it in a way that I like it. And tweezers are my best friend this year. So I'm going to go like that, which means if you're watching, or you can actually see that, it's too big for my piece. I knew that. So I am going to cut it. Like so. And I'm going to save these pieces on the side. Oh. Of course, if you want to be a little bit more anal retentive than what I'm doing, then mark it so that it is exact. There we are. So what's going to happen is these pieces will fuse to the enamel. The enamel will fuse down to either the copper or the second layer of enamel. Okay. There is a front and a back to these frames, so be careful of that. You can tell by looking at it, for those of you who have the kit. So here's where patience comes in. It does take a little bit of patience, and it's a little bit of tedious work. So the question is, can you use copper to do this embellishment? The answer is yes. Okay. So honestly, I'm just sort of making up this design as I'm going here. Oh. Doll. I don't know. I think I like that. So the question is, do you need to clean the embellishments? I have a tendency not to clean the embellishments because they're so small, right? And it's always worked. However, if I was doing copper, I might think twice about that. I've been getting away. If I was doing copper wire, I would probably clean it. I have a tendency not to clean the silver when I do that. Okay, so for the dots, look, I have a whole container of dots I've been saving. Woohoo! Yay me. So these dots, again, came from the cutouts of my 2-hole punch. So do save them, and it could be a lot of fun. So the question is, can you just bend wire instead of using the squares? Absolutely, you can. You can also use granules instead of these dots. It's a slightly different look. So what do you think? I think that's pretty nice. I think that works. Maybe just because I can. Let's see, do we want one here? How many do I have? Do I have enough? It's all about having enough, right? Do I have enough? I think so. We'll put a couple more down, just because we can. What do you think, honey? Think it looks good? Andy says it looks sort of tribal. I think it looks sort of tribal too. Okay. I keep talking about branching out with your designs and just sort of having fun with it. And here I had absolutely no thought into this. I was really thinking that I would just go ahead and repeat what I did here, but why? Why not? Why can I make something different? And also, just to let you know how I did these are not laying on top of each other. These are all cut out. So this is one solid one, but this is 1, 2, 3 pieces. And it was really tedious to get those pieces to come together and cut to look good. So that's an FYI for you. Okay. So there we are. Okay, so now the question is, can I get it from here up to my trivet without dropping it? You might see me cry. Well, you already saw me cry 2 weeks ago, but you might see me cry again today. We'll see. Okay. I'm just being really, really careful about things right now. Just taking my time because you just don't want to drop this. Hands are a little shaky today. Don't think I had quite enough protein. Another thing too, I probably should have done is I probably should have put the embellishments on after I put it on the trivet. What was I thinking? Oh, phew, okay. It's something to celebrate, okay? Go with it. For those of you who've done this before, you know what I'm talking about. You know what the issues are here. You know why that sort of freaked me out. Okay, there we are. So I saw that note there, make sure it's real copper and not plated. Just remember, when you're enameling, everything you do must be genuine, meaning that it's not plated with anything. So some time ago, I got into an argument with a customer about using plated when you enamel. And she goes, no, I did it in a class and it worked. And so finally, I asked her, what was your process and how did you do it? They sat there and they burned off the plating to get to the copper before they used it. So I guess I was right. So here I'm firing this all the way to the gloss stage. There it is. Can you see that? Yeah, nice. And I'm making sure that all of my little embellishments, you can see that the enamel has fused around all of the little individual pieces. How cool is that? I'm digging that. Okay. I know, I'm proud of myself today. What can I say? Okay, there we are. I'm going to let that cool, and then I'm going to show you another way to approach this. Okay? Whew. That's going to take a minute. I am absolutely not going to quench this because I think this looks pretty darn good. Why mess with it? You know, in classes, if you've been in my classes, you know that I do quench just to keep things going. But those are all samples. It doesn't matter if it cracks a week from then or from a week from now because they were samples. It's not something I was going to keep. But you really do not want to quench this stuff. Okay, so as you can see, the silver has all fire scaled up and it's turned black. You know, I could leave it like this. I think it looks great, but I'm going to go ahead and clean it because, you know, I'm supposed to be teaching you something. So I'm going to teach you how to keep this moving. All right. There we are. And I'm being just gentle with it because I don't want to crack anything. I don't want to force anything. And you can already see the silver's coming nicely back up. It makes me so happy. Again, you can use a toothbrush if you would rather not use your fingers. But because we are using Penny Bright and not something that's really harsh, it's okay. It's safe. All right, so here I'm actually going to go ahead and pull out my toothbrush because getting into these tight little spaces is a little bit harder. Just like so. There we are. Oh, so nice. I'm sorry? So the question is, why am I not using a brass brush? You know what? I don't know. I've never used a brass brush on enamels. It's a thing. I wonder if it'll scratch the enamel. Let me try it. I know it's supposed to be a sample, even though I like it. I'm going to try it just because I love you. Better me than you. So let's brass brush this and see what happens. I'll tell you what, actually I'm going to fire this again. Just because I wanted to show you one more process before we end the session here. But I suppose I'm looking at the surface is what I'm doing right now to see if there's a difference between the surfaces with the brass brush. But I can't say I was particularly aggressive. So I just got to do, you know what? I'm an idiot. I could just do the backside. Duh! Oh, see, I see someone said that. Do the backside. Duh. Okay. That was obvious. You can use a brass brush. It was just not something that had ever, I don't know, that I had ever done. For some reason, it just got, when you get used to your process, you just sort of do it. But yeah, use a brass brush. Okay, so here we are. If anything is sticking out, you can go ahead and do a gentle filing on that if you need to take down any sharp edges. For me, I'm not going to file this. I am actually going to sand this because I can feel that my cut on the side here is slightly sharp. And I feel like somebody just might get this piece somewhere along the line. I don't know. I just love this piece all of a sudden. Okay. And that's what happened. Okay, so clearly I didn't fire this long and hard enough. Look, my piece fell off. Okay, so I did not fire enough. So how do you fix it? I'm just going to fix it by refiring it. So give me a minute. I was going to fire this again anyway because I wanted to show you something else that you could do. So we're just going to put this here. And we're just going to put this on here. And I'm going to show you this second process. Okay, so if you wanted to create a little bit more interest in color, another way of applying it so that it is a little bit more direct is to do what we call wet packing. Okay, you can pull out your brush. If I prefer to use a fine tip brush, oops, like this one, and a little bit of clean water and your enamel color. So, or yeah, whatever, whether it's transparent or opaque, it's fine. So just a little bit of water. Okay, first of all, so when I was sanding that, I bent this and it's not laying flat anymore. So I do need to flatten that before anything. Oh. Hold on. Just putting it to the side and seeing if I can flatten it just a little bit. Teeny weeny. Has a very, very slight warp in it. Okay, good. All right, so now I want a little bit more contrast on the ends, let's just say. So what I have is I have a dish of water on the side. So I just wet my brush. And I know this is like a really weird habit, but I have a tendency to just brush my hand to get some of the excess water off. And then I can pick up, can you see that? A little bit of enamel. And I can pack it down like so. You see? Get a little bit more water and apply it like that. So now I can move this enamel around like so, wherever I want more contrast. Because you don't want to sift on top of these embellishments at this point, because if you were to sift on top of these embellishments, how are you going to keep them clean? How are you going to keep it that bright silver? If you want to enamel on top of the silver, that's fine, or copper, whatever you're using, that's fine. But just understand, you're not going to get that bright metal color because you have enamel on it. So this is how you get around that. Oops. So again, with the brush, dole, dole. And a little bit of water. So just a little droplet of water there, and it allows me to just move that around. Like so. This is just tedious work, okay? Be patient, it will come. And what I'm doing, I'm not sure if you can totally tell, but I want this to be really even, more even than what it's appearing like right now. Okay. Just go over here, move that around. I'm going to take some of that off. Move it over here. A little too much for me. Put a little bit more water on there. So by adding a little bit more water as I go, it helps me move the enamel around specifically to where I want it to be. And I know we're talking about grains of, very fine grains of sand, more or less. But this really does allow me to control my color. Just like so. So every time I have a glob like that, if it didn't spread, I just put a little drop of water on it. Don't know what this is, but it needs to go. Like so. And this is really, really wet right now because I'm using a lot of water. So you need to let this dry all the way before you fire it, okay? And I'm cleaning off my brush on my towel, and I'm cleaning off, there is some enamel on top of my silver, and I don't want that, so I'm cleaning it off as I'm going here. And I'm brushing, every time I'm moving away, I'm brushing it on my towel just to clean it off, okay? Like so. All right, so if you have a lot of water and you want to speed up the process, there's several approaches here. You can put this on a cup warmer and it'll get it drying really quickly. And then you can also wick it. You see that? A little bit of water, a little bit of paper towel, and just touch it right on the edge and it will wick it for you. It'll suck, you can see it suck all the water out as you go. I don't know if you can see that on the camera there, but it's pretty, I love wicking. It just makes my heart happy. Because I can see it happening and you see all the water. It's just physics and it makes me happy. If you have particularly wet enamel that you've been working with, this is a way of doing it too. Don't flip over, please. Just a little bit of a dab. I don't usually do too much on top because I feel like I'm going to disturb the enamel. I try really hard to do it from the sides, okay? It's still fairly wet. All right, you can tell that's really wet, because if you're looking at the dry enamel, you can see the difference in color. So it looks like wet sand, right? Again, if you were not doing a live demo, you would put this on a cup warmer or on top of a warm kiln, or you just walk away from it until it dries. Another thing too that you can do is you can heat up your soldering board and place it on top of that if you don't have either one of those two things. Or you can take a risk and do what I'm about to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat from really far away and just gently warm it up until it's dry. And until it's dry, will I bring the heat up? Because if I put the heat up immediately to the high heat, the enamels will start popping because the liquid will start boiling, right? So that is how that is going to happen. Let's see how we're doing here with the cameras. I'm going to move this out just a little bit. Oops, wait, where is it? Right there. Hold on. And we're going to switch that camera out. Okay, there we go. So you can see how I'm going to do this is I'm going to heat all the way from here. See that with this small little flame? And I'm just going to start slowly, like so. Turn that up. There we go. And the color is starting to change. It looks dry. Actually, you guys can't see that. Let's bring it up here. But you see the color change? It's dry now, right? So now I'm going to put this right in here and get it going. Once you see that it's dry, then go ahead and apply the maximum heat that you want to use. I'm going to give a little extra long fire to ensure that all my pieces are fused. Another thing too is potentially I didn't have enough enamel to make the pieces fuse, or I didn't fire enough. So if your pieces are not sticking, it's one of those two things. All right. And there it is. So let it cool, clean it again. If you have any questions, do shout out. If you're new here, Andy's with me, so he tells me what all your questions are, and so that we can get it answered. If you're watching a recording, you can just send us a note, and we'll get those questions answered for you. Let's see. There we are. Okay. Still cooling. Give it another minute, and then I'll do a little bit more cleaning. So don't forget, Virtually Ever Crafting is coming up in 2.5 weeks. Oh my gosh, it's almost here. So crazy. So if you have not registered yet, do register soon if you want a kit, because it's not going to make it to you on time if you don't register like within the next week. Just saying. And there's still a lot of classes still available, and everybody is getting started. I've been impacting all of the instructors with emails about schedules and things. If you have already registered, your schedules are coming in about the next 2 or 3 days. Your schedules are coming with all the Zoom links. Do be sure to register to the Zoom link so that you can get in on the meetings and whatnot. That said, the April schedule has been posted. I made a correction. Yep, sorry, I made a mistake. I forgot to put this on the schedule. That's why we swapped it up, and it's for today. We have 2 more projects for the Motley Metal Monday. I have, what's next week? Scratched, and the week after that is Earthbound, and we're going to start a new series after Virtually Ever Crafting, right? That puts us right into Virtually Ever Crafting, and then we're going to start a new series. So the new series is going to be Mix It Up Mondays, where we will be doing a bracelet. There are kits available on the urbanbeater.com site, but we'll be doing bracelets, a bracelet, where the focal point every week will be something different, and they will be, you can swap them out every week and, change up your bracelet. So one week we will do a cold connection. Yep, the stone is held in via cold connection. And then we're going to do a wire and an enamel. So different process altogether, once again, but you can do whatever you want. And then, of course, we will do, this is going to be the first one. It's the hot project, sort of. But we'll make the ring, and I'm going to show you how to make a 2-tone silver coil. I know. It'll be fun. So there are kits available on that, available again at the urbanbeater.com website. So the question is, how will vendor night work? We're still sort of working that out a little bit. I know there were a lot of kinks in the last couple, but basically all the vendors will have their own room, and they will be there to show the product that they have. And basically we're pretending like we're sort of there in person, but we're not. You can visit each room that you want to look at their goods and make purchases. That's what's going on there. There is on the virtuallyevercrafting.com site, you'll see a frequently asked questions, and you'll also see a page for the vendor night, and it will explain that to you there too. I haven't updated the vendor list yet, but there have been some changes and some updates and whatnot, some new people on the list and some people who have conflicts. Okay, so for here, I'm going to take Gail's advice, and I'm actually going to use this brass brush and see how that works. Ooh, that works really well. These brass brushes are new. We will have them on the website here this week if you want to hold it back. We will have we have brass and nylon brushes that will be up for sale. I'm really starting to love these little pen brushes because they do such a nice job. So the question is, can I do a zoom along focus on enamels? Yes, actually that was sort of brought up because I know a lot of you have not finished or followed along all of these Motley Metals, and it'll be a good time to do that. I had already set the schedule for April, and so we'll push for May. We'll do it sometime in May, but then you know what? This Friday we're doing the Zoom Along is a UFO, unfinished objects. So bring your unfinished objects and join us for that Zoom. I'll post the link here this week if you want to join along. It is free for everybody. Also, I want to note that the Zooms have been on Friday for, I don't know, 50 weeks, but we started changing it up and making them on Saturdays. So do pay attention. Some of them are still on Fridays and some of them are on Saturdays. There have been a lot of interest expressed to move this to Saturday because people are back to work and that's the only day they can do it. So there you have it. But also don't forget there are recordings. So if you miss the Zoom, you can watch a recording, except for Zoom alongs and UFO days because we're just hanging out. Zooming. So definitely join us for the UFO on Friday. On Wednesday, we're going to finish up the step-by-step surprise pinched. Some of you have figured out what it is already. And I'm sorry, honey? Okay. And you wanted to let me know, I sort of have a small conflict on Wednesday and totally forgot. I'm going to start that just about maybe 5 or 10 minutes early on Wednesday, FYI. So don't miss that. Again, we'll be back on Wednesday, and then Monday we'll do Motley Metal once again. Okay, I think that's it. Yappity yap, yap, yap. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thanks for hanging out and sharing all the videos. By the way, really appreciate the contributions many of you have made along the way. This is what keeps us going and keeps everything happening and, keeps our little community going. So thanks again and have a great day. Enjoy. If you have some sun out there, go out there and enjoy it. I'm waiting for a package so I can finish all your kits and get this out the door, hopefully today or tomorrow. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I'll go hiking tomorrow. All right. Goodbye.